Welcome to the Margin Line podcast. I'm Joe Lynch, head of go-to-market at Dandy. This show is all about peeling back the layers of how technology is revolutionizing dentistry, especially in partnership with DSOs and ambitious private practices. We want to give you the inside scoop on what actually goes on in the lab, the challenges we face, the advances we're making, and the stories from the front lines that matter most to doctors and patients. Today, we're joined by Mary Ladd, CEO of Ladd Dental Group, and Dalton Albertin, Director of Marketing and Business Development at Ladd Dental Group. Mary. Ladd Dental Group was founded by your family back in 1978 as a single practice in Kokomo. Take us back. What was the practice like in those early days? And what was your first role in the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I obviously wasn't here in 1978. I was born in 1987, but I have heard a lot of stories about how the practice started, and we've continued to kind of keep the themes from those beginning days. And one thing my dad starting off always did was try to make it easy for patients to accept the treatment that they needed. Yeah. And he did that in a variety of ways. He would come in early, he would stay late, he would come in on the weekends. His first patients were emergency patients. He traded dental services for wood cutting services, for electrical services, just finding ways for people to be able to accept the care that they needed in order to have that healthy oral care that was important to them. So that's something we strive to do and continue to see a lot of emergency patients, try to give patients options and ways to say yes so they can accept the treatment that they need. And along the way, he partnered with dentists that also shared that same philosophy. So those are the kind of dentists we're looking for, people that care and have compassion for patients and are looking to make it easy for them to say yes for the care that they need.
And so it sounds like those early experiences seeing your dad and the way that he enabled other patients to be treated actually just directly shapes those decisions you make today around hiring of dentists.
Absolutely.
And the care that you provide.
Yeah.
A lot of people run away from taking over the family business.
Yeah.
What made you stay? And maybe most importantly, what led you to want to step into the CEO role?
Yeah, maybe I was just young and naive. I don't know. But I did grow up in the business, and I saw my dad love what he did. Every day he went to work. He loved what he did, which he sacrificed time with family, but we all knew he was serving a higher purpose and calling. So I think it was just exciting to be a part of something he had built and loved being a part of. And so to join that and hopefully contribute in the ways that I could, having kind of my background in law school, I thought I could add some value and learn a lot from him while he was still practicing. And so it was a challenge, and I learned a lot, especially in those early years. I started off in HR and then kind of worked towards that role in the CEO role. So,
and then especially when you have long context and family ties to the business, it can sometimes be hard to make a change in the group.
Yeah.
What was the single biggest thing you knew you had to change when you took the helm?
I would say there were two big things. One was kind of redirecting spending.
Yeah.
And then another was software. So we changed from SoftDent to Denticon fairly early on. And that was a huge change for the company. And one, you don't really know what it's going to be like going through until you go through it. So those are two kind of big changes we made pretty early on.
Awesome. Dalton, let's introduce you here. Your background is in sports. You played D1 tennis at Ball State. Most people with that kind of background don't find themselves in dentistry on the business side of dentistry. What did you see that led you to join Ladd?
Yeah. Well, first off, Joe, thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity. For me, in my sports background and my competitive nature, I was really fortunate right out of school. I actually found myself through relationships into medical sales and in particular spine sales. And it was really interesting working with spine surgeons in particular for 5 years and hearing how they go about their day, some of the things they really enjoyed, some of the things they didn't enjoy, in particular, once they were acquired by the hospital. So it was really interesting when Mary and I started dating, hearing some of her stories, hearing some of her provider relationships, and seeing where consolidation was going in dentistry. And I saw a lot of patterns that I saw unfolding on the medical side. And I just thought it was a really unique opportunity. Once Zimmer Biomet bought out the company I was working with, they had their own sales force. And I just thought with that background, I could provide some value to Lad Dental Group, who we really look at the lens of, we have to partner with really good doctors. That makes or breaks our organization in a lot of ways. And I think when you look through that prism, it's allowed our doctor turnover to stay very low. We've had a lot of doctors that have worked with us 10 plus years, and we're really proud of that fact.
I love it. And when you think about the industry consolidation, the acquisition, and sort of stepping into an established family group, what was the moment where you realized that there was actually a real opportunity to scale?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in just hearing Mary's experience and her background, I always knew it was a really unique opportunity. Also, coming from that athletic background, I really like team organizations and team atmospheres. So in dentistry, absolutely checks that box. Every single role in the office is so important, and getting everybody aligned is one of the biggest missions in the industry. So I think taking that kind of leadership and competitive background and seeing how many people really are needed in this organization made it a fun challenge. And I think from a marketing standpoint, to Mary's original point of kind of resource reallocation, from a marketing standpoint, Dr. Ladd was really big on mailers and radio. And I think in their day, I think were really impactful. However, from a real patient acquisition standpoint, we didn't necessarily think that was the best return. So we pivoted a lot to more community events, Google pay-per-click, and then as you guys have seen, a lot of online ads
and YouTube.
Primarily because we want to do as much as we can organically. That's how we keep more money in the practices. So if our blog ranks high, if our websites organically rank high, that's more resources we can keep in the practice and not pay Google for.
For sure. And I think the one of the common through lines there is radio, mailers, community events. Those are all local. And Mary, you've acquired multiple practices, Dill family, Elsner family, Hughes family, all in this very concentrated geographical area in Indiana. Tell me about the concept of operational density, and where did that idea come from?
Yeah, it really started with my dad way back when. I think we like operational density for a variety of reasons. Operational density in the fact that we're physically all close to each other. All of our offices are pretty much within 15 to 20 miles of the next office. So it makes it great for our doctors because they can share staff. So if someone calls off or a doctor calls off, we can just shuffle staff around. They're used to it. That's the kind of culture we've created. And it's great for staff because then they don't have to, call off or be sent home if their doctor calls in. So everybody gets the hours, the doctors get the assistance they need. We can share supplies, materials. We also really like to be relational with our staff and with our doctors at this stage. And with the leadership team we have and the management team we have, we tend to try to keep that fairly small or within reason so that we can reinvest most of our funds at the office level. But as we scale, I think that will change a little bit, obviously with our strategy of how we grow. But it's also great for marketing because our brand awareness is just, people come 15 miles from another direction and we start to gather that patient base, and they already have service with us and know who we are and our dental philosophy and know the kind of care we provide. So our brand is already known in communities that we already want to grow into. So I think we'll continue to kind of grow in that way in a really natural, progressive state.
And to piggyback on that, it also opens up a lot of provider recruitment opportunities because of the referral capabilities. We have specialists that we can support through our 11 different locations because we are so tight. It also allows, from a kind of finance standpoint, we have a dental discount plan. The catch with those dental discount plans can be those specialty cares, because if you're going to a doctor that doesn't provide those services, that's kind of the catch. The fact that we can do multi-specialty care through our operational density is a really big unique value prop.
And so the operational density actually creates a patient flywheel as well.
100%. And it makes acquisition targets a little easier, like the Hughes family that you mentioned. They're 15 miles away from Wabash, which is almost at capacity. Right. So from there, we can acquire a practice and already have some built-in patient flow because, again, some of those Wabash patients actually live in the Huntington area. They were just driving. Well, now they can get a new home office. And so it can allow us to scale up acquired offices a lot faster.
And so walk me through, you start to think about adding another practice. And I think when we last spoke, it was about one practice a year. What does the acquisition process actually look like? Can you walk me through from first conversation to close?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for us, we have a very specific buy box. So obviously, first and foremost, it's footprint. For us, we do want capacity as well. So ideally, at least 6 ops or at least the square footage to build that capacity out.
Sure.
And a lot of times it's, does the doctor want to stay on and keep practicing, or do they want to retire and we have a doctor that we have ready to go in and kind of deploy? That's the big thing for us, is the facility itself and then the doctor. Those are the two really big things for us. And it's a great one if we like to try and get a doc that's maybe 5 years out from wanting to truly retire. And what we say looks good is retire in practice. If you're full-time, cut down to part-time. Do a little mentorship with the doctor that we bring in and retire really on your timeline. And the doctors that we have done that. It's been a really good experience for them, because a lot of times they're unsure what to do. Do I really want to be done? And do I want to be done hard stop, or do I want to, again, kind of phase out? And if it is a phase out, how do I actually structure that and do that? And there's only a couple ways really to do that well, in our opinion.
And when you think about acquiring that local practice, many of which are beloved, they've served their community for over 2 decades. How do you handle the patient communication post-close?
Yeah. For us, it's first having communication with the staff and building that relationship with the staff, because a lot of times for the staff, they're going from, overnight, they have new ownership. Most of the time in this industry, as we all know, you don't share with your staff that you're looking to sell your practice. They're a little afraid of that. And so we take over, and all of a sudden it's like, a whole new culture, a whole new boss, a whole new set of expectations. At least that's what they think. And so if you can control that narrative and you can communicate effectively and build relationships with the staff, that's going to be your best source of communication with the patients, because the patients are looking to them to decide, are they going to stay? Do they trust these people? Are they who they say they were going to be? And if your hygienist stays, that's huge. We are so grateful for our hygienists, but especially the ones that have stayed with us through acquisitions, because they're really the ones who most patients have the greatest relationship with, because they see them every 6 months. And so they've built that relationship. They know their kids, they know their families, they live in that community. So if they speak highly of us, and we want them to, then the patients will also kind of start to build that trust with us and build that faith in us and give us the chance to show them nothing's changed here. Your dentist is still practicing the same dentistry. Your hygienist is still here doing the same hygiene. Your appointment times haven't been cut in half. None of the things that patients get worried about actually happen. And so over time, and with that communication and trust, we build that trust in those relationships. Obviously, we send out the email, we send out the text, the website changes, all the kind of practical changes and ways that you have to communicate with people in that area. We do all of those things, but the most important thing is just that consistency of care and building that trust over time so that they keep coming back. So that's really just the proof is in the pudding.
Tell me about it tactically, though, right? Like the model depends on centralizing services, impression materials, staff to some extent. You mentioned Planet DDS earlier, AI radiographs. Can you break down the before and after? Like, how do you manage the change management, in particular with some of the existing staff who may not have been exposed to those types of things before?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a process, and you have to be really communicative through that process and empathetic and understanding. And I think they need to understand why we're putting all of these things into place. And most of the time, it's not in your first week that you're putting in these changes. Like, you're having the communication over that 90-day period, really building relationships, building trust, all with the end goal in mind, and the understanding amongst all of you that this is going to be at the end of 90 days, we're going to have everything transitioned to Denicon,
No fear
to
there.
the AI. You're just kind of constantly communicating through that. I mean, really, it's relationships and communicating so that you can keep good people. And there will be people that don't want to be a part of that. And you'll find that out early on, and just plan through that and hire through that process. But it's really communication. We don't make a whole lot of changes to the clinical style of care.
Sure.
We just make the kind of the technological changes, and most people really enjoy that. But that you have to train through it. Obviously, there's a lot of training through those 90 days. Helping them understand the why, having our staff that are very comfortable with Denicon and Overjet and with Dandy coming in and showing them how they use it in their practice, kind of having their peers speaking the same language to them, I think really helps.
And for us, it's picking vendors that actually create value as well.
Yeah.
So for us, it's really hard to get change management on a product that's not actually going to help them.
Yeah.
You can sell the logic, you can sell it as much as you can, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't actually improve their job or improve their process, it's really hard to get consistent buy-in.
It's about outcomes.
100%.
Yes,
And for instance, to piggyback on Mary's point there, so much does rely at the training level.
Right.
Operational density allows us to train and mentor better, but also one of the things we've really appreciated with working with Dandy is having Robert and Assad come on site twice with us. Yeah. They were at our annual meeting in front of our entire company. Yep. They were at our provider meeting when we said, okay, if we're going to roll this out, who actually wants this? And we are that relational of a group of, we're going to get a show of hands, doc, who wants this in their office? Because if we force it from a top down, you just don't really get that buy-in. It affects the culture. It just ends up not really being what we want it to be, where when they're piggybacking and pioneering this change, it happens a lot smoother and it makes everybody's life a lot easier.
For sure. I mean, we've talked about it on the show before, but change management, getting the staff to buy in, like those ultimately, they need to happen in parallel to actually the vendor selection and whatever technology you pick. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But I'd love to understand, right? You've made a number of major decisions. Cloud-based PMS, Overjet AI, Dandy for lab work. I'd love to dig in and understand. Tell me, like, what are the main investment criteria that you're thinking about as you start to evaluate technologies to deploy into the office?
I think first and foremost, it's putting the patient first and the money will follow. That's a lad truism that starts back from 1978. So for us, looking through that lens is what is going to increase the patient experience or the patient outcome. Yeah. If it checks that box first, then we'll continue down and explore. And for us, so for instance, one of the things that we're launching this month is with AirPay, another cool form of AI that really helps from insurance verification and eligibility. Yep. So for us, clearing up bandwidth for the treatment coordinators in front of the house makes it so we can answer more phone calls, get more patients in, and continue to create pull through that way. So for us, can it increase the patient experience or outcome, and then can it help the bottom line? And if it can do both of those, we're definitely intrigued. And then what's really great about our size is we can beta it at a location or two and see, okay, if it works here and we get proof of concept, okay, let's roll this out. So we did that with Dandy as well. We rolled you guys out at 2 locations, had really good support from you guys. The docs really liked it. All of the products fit really well. So we're like, okay, game on. We have the docs that want it based on their feedback, based on the product rollout. So for us, that is kind of, now we're not the fastest. We don't wave a wand. We're not trying to set an implementation record, but for us, as long as everybody, if the right hand and left hand know what's going on, we're happy.
Yeah. I would also say, just to add to that, it's nice to work with companies that want to partner with you and actually have some sort of investment or care in the outcome. Right. And just like I like it when I like to make it easy for patients to say yes. It's nice when we work with groups like Dandy that are often and easily saying yes to requests that we have. Yep. So it makes us feel really supported and encouraged when we can partner with the organizations we're working with to implement in our offices.
And Assad and Robert made the pricing structure so easy, where it's like, hey, let's come up with a true lab spend that's going to be real. We're not trying to price gouge you guys and have some number that's not going to be real and have conflict 3 months into this relationship, right? Sure. So we really did appreciate that. Assad from the kind of pricing standpoint and Robert from the real kind of hands-on technical side.
Yeah, and if I zoom out, it sounds like it's really 3 things. It's does it deliver a great patient experience? Yeah. Is it easy for the staff to adopt and buy in? And 3, does it move the bottom line?
Exactly.
I'd love to take the contrarian point of view here and actually understand there's a lot of technology being introduced to the dental industry. It's
So
actually just
much.
exploding.
Insane.
And I'd love to understand, what are the technologies that you've evaluated that are popular in the industry now, but you've chosen not to adopt?
Most. Like for us, and it has to make sense, because one of the things we try and win on as a dental group is price. So we have to be very conscious of what we're investing in, because you do have to then pass on that price. So there are, for instance, implant arms where you can buy a robot to place your implants for you. To me, is it that much better than a dentist that's really has clinical expertise in placing implants? I would argue not. And then that 6-figure price tag has to get priced down somehow.
Right.
The other one that there are so many of, and we really like Denticon. There's enough data in Denticon through Planet DDS. We don't need an AI on top of our software to give us even more data. For us, we really think if we have the right people, we're going to win. Some amount of data and KPIs are absolutely important, but there's a lot of times there's too much information and it's bogging people down, where we want to focus on just a couple key performance indicators, and a lot of the other stuff to us is just noise.
Analysis paralysis.
100%.
So you touched on something there, right? If ultimately it boils down to the people. And one of the more unique things about Lad Dental Group is actually the partnerships you've built with education institutions. Indiana University, Ivy Tech, Ross, Accelerated Academy. Tell me about that initiative. What did that look like? How did it start? And where do you envision it going?
It started with my dad way back when. I think he kind of started the dental assisting program with Ivy Tech. And so from there, I think we saw the value of having dental assistants while they're in training, visit our offices and shadow and do their extern. And we just kind of added to that over the years as different dental educational institutions needed those hours. We were available to them and open to them, accepting them with open arms. And to us, it's like a long-term working interview. And that's when I meet the students, that's what I tell them. I say, this is a chance for you to understand who we are as a dental organization, how we treat patients. It's also an opportunity for us to see if you're a good fit here and how you treat patients, and how quickly you are to jump in and help and things like that. So, and then most recently with IU, I'm trying to remember how that started. I think I reached out to the school, and we just kind of went from there, and they have this great program, and they only had a couple of dental offices they were working with at the time. And so we added all of our practices to their offering of practices for these students to work at once a semester or once a year for a week. And that's been an awesome experience. I was a little bit worried that the doctors were going to be like, no, we don't want these students coming through here, but our doctors have been amazing. They've been awesome mentors. They have let the students come in and do what they feel like they're comfortable with having them do. And it's been a wonderful experience. And we've hired people through all of the programs, and really enjoyed the opportunity to meet all of these students, to invest in them. Even if they don't stay with us, it's still a great opportunity for them to see what good dental care looks like. And it's a whole different experience than their day-to-day in school, where they see, maybe 2 patients a day for 3 hours each. I mean, so it's a whole new world for them. And that to me is a lot of fun, to talk with them and hear about their experience, because I like to meet with each of them and say, how can we be better? How can we be better mentors? How can we be a better facility for you to learn in? Which I think does make us better. We can take that feedback, good or bad. So I hope we continue doing that. I think it's a good investment. We had 71 students come through last year, which is quite a few. It's a lot. Kudos to our doctors, because it is time out of their day. They're working out of 4 chairs and doing hygiene checks and answering questions and mentoring and teaching. So I'm just really proud of them, and want to give them kudos and thanks for helping us really implement all of these programs at the office, because we couldn't do it without their Could not agree more. And to hear Mary talk about that, of how busy our doctors can be throughout the day, which is why we look for efficiencies, so they can do all that stuff. So it's fun to hear the 4th year students talk about Overjet, and it's like, oh, I'd never seen this technology before. This is cool. They tried the Dandy scanner, and they're like, oh man, I wish we had this in school. I do think IU's getting them here soon, but they haven't yet. So it's really cool when they get to see technology out in the actual field, and how group dentistry actually takes place. It's been a great win-win relationship.
And it sounds super fulfilling.
It is.
Big time.
How does it translate? So 71 doctors coming through. How does that translate into actual hiring pipeline and or conversion into young associates in the practice?
Yeah, that is a great question. We've now hired, I think, 4 dental students through that program in the last couple of years.
Yep.
And, all of them are fantastic people and providers.
Yes.
And we had a chance, not very often do you get a chance to do a working interview with a doctor or a dentist for a whole week.
Right.
And although they're not practicing dentists, we treat them when they're there like they have that capability, and we want to give them the opportunity to show us their stuff. So that's been huge, I think, for me to hear from our doctors. This is a clinician that I would want to work with. This is a clinician I trust. And that is so huge because you don't get to do that with
you get a ton
any
of
other.
information.
Yeah. And it's really so much fun to see doctors grow. I really enjoy, you start with someone who they're nervous. This is the first time they've been allowed to do this without someone not looking over their shoulder, but monitoring them.
Right.
And so they very much feel like they're on their own. And it's you kind of get to go through that.
Their own personal evolution.
Yeah. And so it's really fun because, again, we're relational. We want to make sure they want to work there and they enjoy working there and they have the support they need. So you get to really see them grow. And then 3 years down the line, we've hired doctors out of school apart from the CBD program. And then so you see them grow at that 3-year mark. It's just, they're a whole different person.
Exactly right.
And so I get fulfillment out of that because I feel like I've had a part in being able to support them so that they can be that person that they are today and treat patients like they do. And we get to just be a part of that process along the way.
And the exposure for us is incredible because we're in more tertiary markets and areas of need. So it's nice to be able to expose some of these doctors that haven't been to a lot of these communities, even if they're from Indiana, of knowing Huntington, Indiana exists. And there's cool areas here. And you can raise a family here. And there's one dentist to 30,000 people, right? Versus you go down to more of a Carmel area in Indiana where it's 1 to 500, and it just, the demographics change quite quickly and the competition changes. So, and the one other thing I would say besides exposure to the tertiary markets, it's trust. So they get to work with us truly for a week and know when we're interviewing and talking with them, we have enough new patients to support you. Yes. We have really good equipment. We have a setting for you to have mentorship to turn into the doctor that you want to become. Yep. And it's not lip service or something written in the brochure because everybody says they're provider centric on the brochure. Right. But I think there are some that are and some that aren't. So it's nice
two-way
to
interview for them.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I would say for assistant wise, when it comes to hiring, we've hired at least 70-80% of our staff from the assisting programs that we work with.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's
massive talent pipeline.
It's a huge pipeline. Yeah.
Wow. And so, I mean, this is a consistent problem. We hear it. It's in all of the news in the industry, but the profession is facing a real labor supply shortage. Paint the picture for me. How bad is it? What are you seeing on the ground?
Do you want me to take it? We were talking about this. I think it's gotten a lot better in Indiana. I would say hygienists, it's still
role dependent.
Yeah, it's still hard to find hygienists right now. But dentists, a lot of great dentists are graduating. For us, it's more of finding dentists who are interested in areas of need. So that's more of the challenge than lack of talent. And I think we've seen a lot more dental assistants coming through the programs. We've had bigger classes recently, so that's encouraging. So I mean, knock on wood. I know, I'm thankful. I feel like we're able to attract talent in our areas for us. So I guess speaking just for us, we try to pay really well. We try to take care of our staff. We're very family friendly and flexible. Yep. Just really, it's hard to find people to go to areas of need. But we have a lot of great graduating students and great dental assistants. It's just a hygienist, but that's coming along. So I'm really hopeful about it. Honestly, I think that's the way to be.
It is a supply and demand thing. I do think overall the macroeconomics are changing a little bit. So I do think some people are coming back to the industry.
Some relief on the upside.
I do think so. There were a ton that went into retirement during COVID. Right. I do think some are starting to dip their foot back into the dental space.
Okay.
So, and just overall, I think discretionary spending's changing a little bit.
Right.
And I think some of the staples are maybe going to have a chance again.
Right.
And dentistry absolutely is a consumer staple. So I think as just the overall macro changes, I think some of our labor will get solved that way. But long term for us, it's always about building the pipelines. So that to us, that is the key, because we have really started to change. We hire on a mindset. We can teach the dentistry. If you're just hiring on experience, I think that can be a little scary.
For sure.
Yeah.
You touched on it in a couple of your answers around like community need and underserved areas. LAD's mission is to make the communities in which we serve as healthy as possible. And one of the ways you do that, it sounds like, is by providing a talent pipeline and serving underserved areas.
Yep.
But you've also provided free dental care to over 1,000 families. How does that community commitment fit into your broader business strategy?
Yeah, Dr. Ladd was really early on with doing a free dental day. That was one of the things that really helped establish him as a provider. And as things change, certain things come. But for us, we are really prideful on taking all forms of insurance, Medicaid and managed care included.
Yep.
So that is about probably around 40% of our patient base. And for us, we're really proud of that. We take care of the people that need it most. We have the facilities in place to serve them really well. And we got into healthcare to help the people that need it. And I think if you have the systems in place, primarily for us, the biggest thing is actually not on the clinical side, it's on the admin side, because you just have to make sure they are eligible for the procedures and things of that nature. So because we have a revenue cycle team and we have some of the operational density and we can make sure the things we're doing are approved, it actually makes it so from a bottom line perspective, it makes sense. It is absolutely worth the time. And we're helping the people that need it most. So again, for us, if we can find win-wins, we're going to jump on that all day long. And that is one. We don't schedule them different. There's some offices that will take certain insurances and maybe only see them at one time during the day or on one day during the week. We are a first come, first serve. We do not put cash in front of anybody or traditional in front of anybody. It is truly a first come, first serve. And because we have the team in place, and we are more of a volume type setup, which a lot of times for us, when we're going to practice acquisitions, it's not, hey, who here's going to lose a job? It's no, everybody's staying. We need everybody, and we're going to hire more. So for us, it's a lot of conversation about capacity, which is partly how we help drive that trust. Because there's, in the dental industry, DSOs can be a 4-letter word, and there can be some imaginations when some of the solo dentist is selling to a DSO. And for us coming in of saying, hey, we're going to be relational. We're boots on the ground because we're here, and we're going to put a bonus structure in place that's never been here before. And we're actually going to hire more, not cut anybody. It starts to change the conversation. But that first initial meeting, it always is a little interesting, because they're first of all that we've done. It's first question, who's losing their job? For whatever reason, that is literally about the first question we get in any type of acquisition setting. And it's like, well, the great thing, guy, is at this office, we're actually going to add capacity. We're going to add insurances. We're going to add chairs. We're going to add team members. And hopefully that helps establish that trust.
Yeah. One of the two things on that, so adding capacity and then taking all insurance, really just, to me, that sounds like the workload's going to go up. And one of the themes beyond just the labor shortage is actually provider burnout. And when I hear more capacity required and more admin, my mind goes to, what is the risk of provider burnout inside of the DSO? And so I'd love to understand, how do you think about provider burnout? How do you think about, as a DSO, providing shared services that a group like LAD can do, but may not be available to a traditional solo provider?
I think it's a great opportunity for a dentist to join a group like ours, because all we want them to feel like they have to do is the dentistry that they have spent time and money and sweat and tears on, and that they love to do, and what they feel called to do. And they can go home at night, they can be with their families, they can do whatever they want to do without having to think about work at all. They don't have to spend the weekends thinking about work. They can come in, hone their skills, continue to grow, be leaders on their team, and trust that we have the admin burden on, on our shoulders, and that we're capable of it. And anything beyond that they want to be involved in as dentists, if they want to understand more of the numbers or more of the back end or the adjustments or, write-offs, things like that, we're more than happy to share that information. We're very transparent about that, but we don't ever make them feel like that's something they have to take on or learn about in order to be successful with the group. Really, we feel like their time is best spent chairside, treating patients, and they have to have a good support staff to do that. I think that's something I learned I didn't understand coming into the industry without the clinical background, is just how important those team members are and how efficient they can allow a doctor to be. So we're always looking, how do we give you the best team possible so that you can provide the highest quality of care in a way that you enjoy in the capacity you enjoy. Everybody's got a different idea of what success looks like, and everybody's goals are different, and they're all determined together. It's not like we're giving a doctor a goal to hit or a patient number to hit or any sort of specific clinical goal. They all have their own autonomy. So everyone is at a little bit of a different level when it comes to that and has different expectations. But ultimately, we want them to feel like you can come and do the dental care and just do that to the best of your ability, and you can go home and be with your family and enjoy your life without having to stress about running a business and hiring staff and having HR conversations and doing payroll and all of the things that we, take on their behalf and really partner with them to provide.
Yep. And another reason we really like Indiana as a state is expanded functions. So a lot of times it's making sure that we're training our assistants really well and our doctors are communicating really well with their staff, because sometimes you can add volume without not actually adding a lot of extra workload. So for us, we're really big on clinical huddles. So we talk a lot about, we want our doctors to be clinical leaders. We are more than happy to help with the clinical management. If HR needs to get involved, if we need policies, we love that, but we can't do the clinical leadership for them. So we really are bullish on doing morning huddles, getting your teams together. We have most of our assistants are expanded functions so they can help our doctors in a lot of ways. And Dr. Ladd is really, really bullish on, in terms of getting right out of school, we spend a lot of time coaching and mentoring how to work with your assistants the right way. Because that is the biggest time saver that we have and why we've invested in all these pipelines. That's how we avoid having the clinical burnout, because they have staffs that are well trained. We're not having a lot of conflict of, why am I not getting paid for this? Because we are making sure it's pretty. To me, the burnout happens when a lot of conflict is there. So there's either conflict because you can't get the staff that you need, you can't get the equipment that you need for whatever reason, you can't get things approved. That, to me, when you kind of feel like you're on an island, is really when the burnout comes. And in full disclosure, why we think when we're going out and having some of these conversations from a practice acquisition standpoint, we partnered with private equity 5 years ago, so we can relate with where they're at. Part of the reason we did this is we wanted more of a team atmosphere. We felt like we were just on an island, just kind of having just felt very isolated. So we wanted to bring a team member. Yes, it was a cash infusion, but they helped us evaluate practices better with a real CFO that really worked on our team. And it wasn't like, what's
created
his
capacity for you.
Exactly and where you're not worried about what's his real motive. Is he here to get billable hours, or does he really want us to acquire a practice that makes sense? And that really did help us turn down some of those burnout factors, because again, we didn't feel like we were the only ones holding the bag and fighting all these fights independently.
When you think about expanded functions, clinical huddles, if you were to give one piece of advice to a provider inside of their practice, what do you think is the most important thing that you would tell them about working with their assistants? To me, it's communication. You have to build the relationship. The assistant has to know that you care about them as a person first. I think that has to be established. And to me, when that is there, then you can coach a little harder, because sometimes in real time, again, you've seen it in certain settings. And certain doctors are a little more direct than others. But to us, if the relationship is established first and it's coming from a patient care standpoint, we love those type conversations. We're always more to help on the back end. I would say that's more than the management side. And maybe we work a little bit with the clinical leadership, maybe just on a little bit of his tone, maybe. But that is what we think good looks like. And because of our operational density, we can send assistants to go shadow other assistants that are really good, so they can learn what good looks like, is what we call. So, because a lot of times there's nothing better than a visual representation of what good looks like. Of course.
And if they can go and see that, sometimes
they can replicate it.
Exactly right. And that can really move the needle.
Communication is, I think, critical to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But Mary, you are often acquiring businesses that are someone's life work.
Yeah.
And that's emotionally charged. How do you communicate during the acquisition? And more specifically, how are you communicating how that culture needs to shift to fit inside of Lad Dental?
I think making it clear up front that this doesn't have to be rushed. Like, let's figure this out. Let's take our time and set an understanding that we're going to be transparent, and that we want this to be a win-win. I think it's really important, win-win-win, win for us, for the doctor, for the staff, because ultimately the doctor wants to make sure that the patients are going to be in good hands and the staff are going to be in good hands. That's the two big things we hear a lot.
Right.
And the great thing is we're always aligned on that. We always want the patients to be in good hands, and we want to keep the staff. And we want them to be happy and excited about the transition. And we want the doctor, first and foremost, to be happy and feel like this is a good thing for him or her, and that they've come out of this feeling like it's been a win for them. And so the conversation along the way is just how do we make that happen, with the understanding that these are the things that we are going to change and why we're going to change them.
Right.
But it's going to be, 90 days from now, and we're going to train the staff on that. We're going to roll it out. We're going to communicate it. And it's not going to impact the patient care. And, if a doctor is coming in, then we want them to meet. Exactly. We want them to, approve of one another and have that kind of transition and the handoff. But ultimately, it's how do we make this a win-win for you? And the great thing about us is we can be flexible.
Yes.
Our one acquisition doesn't look like the next acquisition.
Right.
One deal doesn't look like the next deal. And so we want a deal that's going to work well for that doctor, whether he or she is leaving right away, whether he or she is transitioning in practice. And so I think that's the great thing. We're not trying to rush into anything. Exactly. We don't have a timeline for anything. It's just, let's do this at your pace. Let's do it so you're comfortable, and let's do this so you're satisfied with the outcome. And if it doesn't work, then it's not the right fit.
Exactly.
We're not trying to push ourselves onto anybody.
Yep.
We don't need to do that. We don't want to do that. We want to enjoy the process. Obviously, at the very end of every acquisition, even when we worked with Lead, there was at the very, very end, there's that little bit of time where you're super tense because it's like, oh, we have to make this decision.
Right.
This is it. This is the actual go time. Yeah. And so everybody gets a little nervous. And I think just anticipating that, knowing that's coming, not letting it get us, frazzled, just understanding that is human nature. And we want to be empathetic and understanding and answer all of your questions to the best of our ability, understanding that some things are outside of your control and are just unknowable, but we want them to trust us as individuals and know that integrity is one of our core values, and that's how we're going to do this deal.
So you do a lot of communication up front. You always hope it works out.
Yes.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
There will be some challenges post-integration.
Yeah.
Can you share share the raw truth behind it, right? Not every deal has worked out. Is there a people-related decision or an integration challenge that you could share? Because there's a lot of listeners here that they make an acquisition and somewhere along the way it fails.
Yeah.
Tell me about a story.
The loudest thing that we do, and it is a non-negotiable for us, is changing the practice management software.
Yeah.
So it is centralizing to Denticon. But for us, the juice is worth the squeeze. We know it's not going to be fun. We have trainers. We've done this before. Yep. We can make it as simple as possible, but there is going to be change management to it. In particular, that is what drives some of the doctors out. But we just say it up front, like, hey, if you're going to come with us, you have to be on Denticon. So I think for us, we really haven't had that many adverse events because we have laid out things we haven't tried to do anything behind the scenes. And I think a lot of that is also due to the fact that from a finance standpoint, we're not forced to, how do we buy something because we need to somehow get more loans in certain ways. And maybe the loan goes for the practice, but also maybe helps with some operational expenses. Right. Thankfully on that, we're not in that boat. So we're not forcing growth through needing other forms of capital injection. So for us, because we can grow slowly, we can be very strategic with what we're acquiring. There really haven't been, again, too many adverse events because we knew who we were partnering with.
And so as you think about your strategy for your next acquisitions, What's next for Lad Dental? What's the vision? Are you aiming for a national presence, or is it to completely, grow into the Indiana market?
Yeah, I think Indiana market first. We want to go where we're needed, not just where we want to be, or just like, oh, there's an office in Florida. That looks nice. I mean, that's not what we're here for. We're here to go where people are like, you need to come to this place. Like, we need you here. Because that's really what we're here to do. To Dalton's point, we're here to serve. We want to take care of patients. There's so many areas that need good doctors and good care. And that's pretty obvious to us where those areas are. And so we're very actively right now looking at about 2 different locations that we're really excited about. And there's lots of opportunity out there. There's also a lot of offices that just aren't really sellable that are on the market. Right. And so that's really tricky for us, because a lot of times in areas of need where we want to be, sometimes it's deciding, do we buy this practice that's kind of, many years without being invested back into, or do we just kind of do a de novo practice? So I think that's going to be a question for us through the next couple of years, is what makes the most sense as we look at the places where we're needed, where patients are asking for us to go so they don't have to drive 15 miles down the road. But is there a practice to buy there, or do we just need to consider doing a de novo space? So that's kind of the where we're at right now. And I think strategically growing out our team, we're looking at adding an operations specialist, which I think will be really critical for us to be able to open practices quicker and just have someone go in there that knows kind of how to do the change management and how to bring a team on. So that's our next, I think, big hire, and continue to recruit from within to build out our structure. That's another thing in the next couple of years. We'll continue to do that. We love doing that. That's also a lot of fun for me to see people grow up into their roles, and people surprise me all the time. I need to have higher expectations sometimes, because they're just really great people in our organization that I see promoting as we grow, so that we'll be able to have people that know us, that believe in us, that are loyal to the brand, that we can promote to help grow it in Indiana. And then from there, I think as we get, closer to other states, it'll kind of be a natural, well, Ohio's like, hey, we've heard of you. We need you over here. You'll kind of just more naturally versus, and by that time, that whole blob effect will make a lot more sense. And we'll have people, operations already kind of in that area to be able to support bringing on a new office versus having to fly out every, so often. That just doesn't sound like an enjoyable experience for me or for an office coming on that doesn't know us, that has to all of a sudden meet these new expectations or feels like they have new expectations.
And they're beyond an island.
Yeah, you don't want that for them. That's not enjoyable for us. It doesn't really make sense.
Exactly
it's
right.
not our
add
calling.
Value.
So I think we'll get there. It's just, we need to meet the need in Indiana first. That's where we feel called.
Yep.
Beyond build, buy, and hire and grow talent. What's the next wave of technology you believe will fundamentally change dentistry?
Ooh.
I think we're getting closer and closer. I think AirPay is closer as we found so far, but the easier we can make insurances, and there's just so many of them, which is hard. But once we can somehow make it to where they have to publicly disclose their information and things of that nature, so the spiders online can get access to that better. I think if we could make insurance a lot simpler from the patient side too, so the patients actually knew what they were eligible for, how much, what their coverage really was. To me, that is still one of the most difficult and frustrating things of the industry, is the insurance side of it. And I think if AI could clean that up, that would really help streamline some things.
And this is, we're running up on time. This hour flew by.
Did.
But I'll ask one final question. What's a practical first step for a practice owner who wants to start evaluating how AI or other digital tools could improve their operations if they don't have a technical background?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would recommend Dandy very much so. Like,
love that answer.
Because I know, but I just think you guys make it so easy.
Agreed.
Because you train well. You're accessible. Your workflow is so easy and efficient and beneficial to our doctors that and the assistants, that it was just easy. And again, like there are so many hard decisions to make in a day, but this was easy for all of us to say yes. And it changed the turnaround time for our crowns. I cut that in half. Yeah. It has better quality. I can only say extremely positive things about Dandy, and it will just, it changes everything. It makes it so much better for our doctors. So, and you get the scanners, which is huge. I mean, for us thinking about, purchasing scanners for all of our doctors. Yeah. So this, again, made it easy because you provided that for us. And so that's a good first step to kind of getting into some of the newer technology, I think.
Agreed. One of the things I love to sell when we're interviewing doctors is our CTO. Brock is awesome. We have an unbelievable tech guy.
That's
I think it's a huge value prop for us as a DSO versus solo dentist, because man, being on phone with Plan Mecca for 3 hours is not a fun experience. And not being able to take panos or cone beams and all that is also not fun.
Right.
So having somebody for that is great. But for that solo dentist, it is, to Mary's point, I think you have to look at something that isn't going to cost a lot of capital up front if you don't know if it's going to help on the back end. Yeah. So, because I do think the rise of the zombie DSOs and even zombie solo practices are going to be more and more as the margin compression is real. Yeah. So they do, in our opinion, need to be pretty specific where they're deploying capital.
And trial it. I think
all day.
There's so many ways to trial things, even with a solo practice. Yes. Like you can try something for 30 days, try something for 90 days. Yep. Most organizations that are rolling out technology understand that it takes a little bit of time for you to start to get to use it and understand the benefit of it and to get staff buy-in and all of that. Just try it. You never know what might be the next best thing for you in your practice.
Yeah. And again, Dandy, to give you guys your kudos again, not having long-term contracts, we really appreciate. Yeah. Again, going month to month does make taking that leap of faith so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't sign a 3-year contract. I did that early on with a couple things and I thought, never again. I mean, I should never say never, but 3-year contracts aren't my thing anymore. So
fair enough. Mary and Dalton, thank you both for coming on the Margin Line. If you're running a DSO or group practice and think about acquisitions, technology adoption, or how to build a real talent pipeline, this conversation was a masterclass. We'll have links to Lad Dental Group in the show notes. For anyone in Indiana, definitely check them out. And if you're interested in how Dandy can support your practice, head to meetdandy.com. See you all next week.